Welcome to the Retirement Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Greg Gonzalez. My goal for the podcast is to help you live a better life in retirement by giving you the tools and information you need in a language that you can understand. As a financial advisor in St. Louis, Missouri, who helps people plan for a successful retirement, I have the great fortune of meeting with a lot of people that are close to that retirement age, or maybe are getting a few years away from retirement. It's getting down to crunch time for these people, and they're wanting to get serious about their retirement planning. So on the podcast, I get to share stories and lessons and tips that I think will help other people as they're planning for their own retirement. And you, as a listener, can pick up these different tips along the way, and it'll help you with your own planning. That's the name of the game. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about two things. Number one, we're going to talk about why Roth IRAs need to be considered for everybody's retirement plan. And then second, I wanted to discuss a free resource that's available on Dave Ramsey's website. I'm a SmartVestor Pro, so I'm a big believer in Dave Ramsey's philosophies. So I want people, as they're planning for their retirement, to utilize this resource. And many people don't know about it or don't know where to find it on his website. So we're going to talk about that in the second segment of the podcast today. Before we get into today's show, I wanted to remind listeners to check out our website, which is retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. That's retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. It's a mouthful, but it's worth checking out. You can listen to previous episodes of the podcast, as well as I invite you to download free resources such as our 2020 tax planning guide and also my retirement secret sauce, which is the best resource on the website, my retirement secret sauce. Again, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. And also, while you're on the website, if questions come up about your own retirement, about your own investing, whatever it may be in your financial life, if I can help with it, at the bottom of the website, there's a section on there that says, Ask Greg a question. Just submit your question and I'll get back with you with my advice or my opinion, and hopefully that'll help you out. So I wanted to talk about Roth IRAs first and foremost on this episode, and why I think they're one of the most underutilized accounts that I see. And quite simply, they are, in my opinion, the best thing since sliced bread. At least for my own retirement plan, they are the best thing out there. Why do I say that? The beauty of Roth IRAs is you're saying, I'm going to pay the taxes on this money now. The money that I contribute to this Roth IRA, I'm choosing to pay the taxes on it now so that it can grow tax-free forever, for my entire life. I like to think of a Roth IRA simply as a birdcage. And so you can put any kind of bird you want in the birdcage, meaning you can invest your Roth IRA in mutual funds and stocks, however you want to, right? The cat on the outside of the birdcage that's trying to get the birds, that's the IRS. But within the birdcage, you're protected. Your birds are protected. The shell or the cage around your birds are the Roth IRA, which protects your money or the bird from the big bad IRS, so your money can grow tax-free for forever. So let's just do a quick experiment to show you how powerful a Roth IRA is. Let's assume a 35-year-old puts $6,000 just 1 year, and we'll call it this year in 2021. He or she puts $6,000 in a Roth IRA and doesn't touch it for 30 years and lets it compound every year and grow and grow and grow. Let's assume that this person gets a 7% annual rate of return, annual average rate of return. So in 30 years, when they go to retire at age 65, they start claiming their Medicare, maybe they're collecting their Social Security. Their Roth IRA with a 7% annual average return would be valued at $45,673. Again, they started with just $6,000 30 years ago when they were 35 and just let it grow and compound over the years with an assumed 7% rate of return. The beauty of that Roth IRA is that, yeah, you funded it with $6,000 that you paid taxes on, but then when you're 65 and your Roth IRA is worth $45,673, you can begin to take withdrawals from that Roth IRA tax-free for as long as you live. So you got roughly, over $39,000 of growth over the years and tax-free growth at that. There's nothing better than tax-free growth of your money. Again, I will repeat, the Roth IRAs are going to be able to give you tax-free income in your retirement. And why is that so important for people? Because if you're one of those people that has a pension, maybe has Social Security on top of that, maybe has rental income, all three of those are probably going to be taxed if they're any significant amount. So if you have your corporate pension through work that you worked for, you deserve, and that pays you a monthly $2,000 a month. If you and your spouse have a combined Social Security of $3,000 a month, that's going to be taxed. And then any rental income that you have, that's going to be taxed on top of that. So when you add all these up, you start turning into a tax machine in retirement. So if you can have a component that can provide you tax-free interest or income through dividends and so forth, it can be extremely beneficial to you throughout all of your retirement years. There are so many things in life that we cannot control. For example, we don't know what the cost of living is going to be in 20 or 30 years, but you can assume that it's going to be a lot higher. I know that my property taxes don't really ever go down. They keep going up, right? We don't know what taxes are going to be in the future. We don't know how long we're going to live. There are just so many unknowns, but we can do our planning based on the knowns and the rules that we have today. And we know that, hey, if I put money in a Roth IRA, it can grow for me tax-free as long as I invest it wisely. But that's the point of the Roth IRA, is to get it to the tax-free zone. Again, once it's in the Roth, it can never be taxed ever again. And when I talk to a lot of my clients that are in their 60s and even 70s, you know, the one regret that a lot of them have that's very similar across the board, they all wish that their Roth IRAs were bigger, that they had put more money into their Roth IRAs throughout their working years. And I have some clients that are even encouraging their young adult children, hey, get started with a Roth IRA. The earlier you get started with that tax-free growth, the better. What they're finding is they can't go back, but they want to at least help their children do the things that they wish they would have done. So if you're one of those people that maybe doesn't have a Roth IRA, or you don't have a Roth 401k through work, well, maybe you consider something like Roth conversions, Roth IRA conversions. Or for those people that may say, oh, I make too much money to contribute to a Roth IRA, you might look at backdoor Roth IRAs. And even when you're retired, you can still do Roth conversions. So you want to, of course, talk this over with your financial advisor and possibly even your tax advisor to make sure it makes sense for your situation. But Roth IRAs, in my opinion, again, are the most underutilized vehicle. And a lot of people, I don't know if because the maximum contribution amount, like in 2021, if you're under 50, you can only put in $6,000 per person as long as you earn up to $6,000. If you're over 50, there's a catch up of another $1,000. So then you would be able to put in $7,000. And there are some earnings limits and restrictions that you will want to check out. So if you make $1 million, you are excluded from being able to contribute to a Roth IRA unless you utilize a backdoor Roth IRA. So a lot of people are utilizing their Roth 401k because they allow you to contribute more money every year. And it's a great way to invest right through your employer's plan. I had someone say to me the other day that was 62 or 63. The gentleman said, well, I'm too old for a Roth IRA. He was still working, but he said, I'm too old for a Roth IRA and for it to make sense for me. And I said, well, how old is your father? And he said, well, my father is 87. And I said, okay, well, just imagine between now and when you're 87, if you live as old as your father, is now at 87, let's say it's 25 years, he was, as I recall, around 62, you're going to have 25 years of tax-free growth by contributing to a Roth IRA. What better deal is that? You just got to think about it. You're not too old for a Roth IRA. And quite frankly, you got to think, how nice would it be to leave your kids a Roth IRA that has been growing tax-free over the years for you, and now you're passing that Roth IRA, which grows tax-free, to your children, where they don't have to pay the taxes on it at their tax rate, right? Because it's in a Roth IRA. It would then be an inherited Roth IRA, and it would be completely tax-free to them. What a great deal for your children. And for those people that are retired, what a lot of our clients like to do is invest their Roth IRAs wisely so that they produce income and tax-free income that they can withdraw from their Roth IRA and live on in retirement. Doesn't get any better than tax-free income, especially when all these people are telling me the only two certainties in life are taxes and death. So I will leave you with one thought. And this one thought, we do this for a lot of clients. Look at your entire retirement nest egg. Think of the 401ks, IRAs, maybe mutual funds, all your retirement assets that you have accumulated and you're investing. And draw a circle, like a pie chart, so to speak. How much of that nest egg, that pie chart, there's two slices. One is pre-tax, so think like 401ks, rollover IRAs, that kind of thing. That's all pre-tax money. It's tax deferred, so you pay taxes in the future whenever you take withdrawals from that account. And the other slice of the pie is your Roth, your tax-free forever money, right? So looking at your slices, a lot of people have 90% of their retirement nest egg in pre-tax and only 10% in Roth IRAs. And that can be a big problem for a lot of people because when they get into retirement, they're looking at all the taxes that they're paying and they're saying, my goodness, look where all my money's going. I'm retired, but I'm still paying a ton of taxes. Well, what I'm going to tell you is if that Roth IRA were a bigger piece of the pie, you might not be paying as much income taxes in retirement. And the next thing I wanted to talk about on today's podcast was a free tool that Dave Ramsey and his team offer. I'm a SmartVestor Pro in St. Louis, so I'm a huge fan and advocate of everything that Dave Ramsey not only recommends to get your financial house in order, but also his principles of building wealth and philosophies in general really jive with what I believe in as well. So his website, daveramsey.com, is where you can find this free tool, and it's under free tools. And then underneath free tools, click on retirement calculator, and I'll provide a link for you. But where this takes you is to a page that is trying to help you determine your, what they call retire inspired quotient, your RIQ. And what that simply is how much money you're going to need saved for retirement, for a successful retirement that you envision based on your goals and the lifestyle you want to have in retirement. So this tool is going to, of course, ask you a few questions, and they're easy. So as you go through it, it's going to tell you how much money at the end of the day you're going to need saved for retirement. And then we'll make recommendations on how much you should be saving between now and retirement to get you there. And you'll see Chris Hogan, who's on Dave Ramsey's Ramsey Solutions team, and he's on Dave's podcast, which I always listen to on YouTube, but he's on the radio shows and all across iTunes and all that good stuff. But this tool, this RIQ, is going to help you take the guesswork out of retirement planning. Because I hear so many people say, well, I just save and invest what I can without ever knowing what the end result that I'm shooting for is. And that's what this RIQ is saying. Okay, based on the retirement that you want, this is how much you're going to need to afford that retirement. And not only that, but if you're not there yet, this is how much you need to be saving every month. I see so many people saving and saving for retirement and not really thinking about it. It just becomes a habit, but they never check to see if they're on course or off course, saving enough, on track, or are they close and they just don't know it. Because believe me, I have talked to a lot of pre-retirees and they all tell me there's no greater feeling than getting to the point where you have enough saved for retirement, where you don't need to go to work anymore. You can walk away from a 30-year career because you're home free. You've got enough saved and invested for as long as you live. I have seen people's attitudes completely change because they approach their job or their career differently. Yeah, they can continue to work if they want to, but they don't necessarily need to save anymore for retirement. At that point, they've really made it, and they can walk away whenever they want to. Just think of the freedom, the sense of freedom that gives somebody. It's like getting to the point where when you get up in the morning, you can do whatever you want to do that day. And if it's go to work, that's fine. But that's a lot easier if you enjoy the work you do versus like my mother dreading going to work every day. But she eventually got to a point where she had enough saved for retirement and she could walk off into the sunset with my father. So if you haven't checked out that resource at daveramsey.com, again, it's the RIQ, Retire Inspired Quotient, that Dave Ramsey, Chris Hogan, and their team have developed. And I think it'll open your eyes to help you understand how much you might need saved for your own retirement. Hey, I hope today's episode has been helpful to you. Again, check out our website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. At the bottom, if you have any questions, feel free to send those my way. I'm Greg Gonzalez, and I'll catch you next time for the next episode of the Retirement Made Easy podcast. And remember, always dream big. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, please consult your attorney, tax advisor, or financial advisor prior to investing. This is a hypothetical example and is not representative of any specific investment. Your results may vary. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices mentioned are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. The SmartVestor program is a directory of investment professionals. Neither Dave Ramsey nor SmartVestor are affiliates of St. Louis Retirement Advisors or LPL Financial. There is no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.